and their aura is so strong, they are literally flashbanging the audience. And when my eyes finally came back too, they are moving so fast you can only see neon streaks. They even had this man Bag hitting the moderate emote.
Hey man, it's your boy Alex, and welcome back to another banger.
Today, we are talking about solo leveling, and more specifically, when the S-Rank Hunters fight it out in preparation for Jeju Island. So if you have not yet seen episodes 22 through 24 of solo leveling, spoiler warnings ahead. And without further ado, it's time to get unhinged. So we start off with a 4v4 free-for-all, and the moment they start, there is action everywhere. And off the rip, this does not seem like a friendly sparring match. They are damn near trying to kill each other. And don't even try to blink, because if you do, you could get squished by a size 47 foot-shaped anvil, hawked down by a humanoid tiger, or have to defend against Kumamoto when he goes berserko. And I mean, Buddy got hit with one little combo and started tweaking out, but luckily Jinwoo stepped in and shut it down before he took off Cha's head. And after that battle was over, Guildmaster Goto asked to spar Jinwoo one-on-one, and Jinwoo accepts, but with one stipulation: Goto is not allowed to hold back. And as Jinwoo is warming up, this man Goto sneaks his ass, but Jinwoo's speed and agility is no joke. And when Goto rushes in, he learns this very quickly. And I mean, Jinwoo is straight toying with bro. And Goto gets so aggravated by this that he decides that he's going to kill him. I'm sorry, I thought we were sparring. Well, I guess not. Goto rushes in and cuts Jinwoo on the face, but when he follows that up, Jinwoo catches his hand. But the match is not over. They both retreat back and begin to power up, but when they rush back in, they're both stopped by the other hunters. And luckily they did, because there is a 99% chance they just stopped a cataclysmic event. And speaking of cataclysmic events, we then cut to Jeju Island, where the Ant Queen is currently raising her army. And she got hella eggs, but one of these eggs is big as shit. When suddenly, the beast bursts out of the egg and the Ant King is born. And I kid you not, this ant was alive for barely 2 seconds and literally shot out Black Air Force energy. And the very next morning, the hunters finally arrived at Jeju Island. And you can feel the sharp tension in the air as everyone awaits for the raid to begin. And I'm not gonna lie, they rolled out kinda clean. They got these looking like a G.I. Joe mission. And after Chairman goes green light, the 4th Jeju Island raid is underway. And the moment the diversionary team unleashed their power, the ants begin to spread out. And some of them made their way to one of the strike team's helicopters. But unfortunately for them, that helicopter holds their ultimate weapon, S-Rank Hunter Jung-In Choi, who opens the hatch and completely incinerates them. And with their pathway now clear, him and his team make their way down and head towards the Queen's cave. And while Jinwoo's back on the mainland doing daily quests, Jung-In's team has discovered one of the ants' egg chambers, when they discovered the gargantuan-ass egg at the top with no ant in it. When we cut to S-Rank Hunters Tanaka and Shimizu chopping it up, when suddenly more ants begin to come their way. And before Shimizu had a chance to heal Tanaka, she gets decapitated. And as her limp body falls to the ground, they realize that they're no longer alone, as they're now in the presence of the Ant King. The moment Shimizu meets her demise, the remaining 2 S-Rank Hunters fight against the blur, but Tanaka reaches the same fate. So Fujishima attempts to run after it, but as he draws his blade, he loses his head too. This newborn monster has decapitated 3 S-Rank Hunters in less than 10 seconds. Hold up, let me get this right. This monster was literally born last night, and he came out the sack with enough power to one-tap S-Rank Hunters? Who is his daddy, LeBron? We then cut the Jung-In strike team taking on more ants deeper into the cave. And of course they're out here doing unnecessary ass maneuvers. Out of nowhere, Hain does an Olympic level front flip, swan dives sword first into the ant, rotates the sword while in the ant's head, stands on the sword, and proceeds to slide it down his body. You got it, bruh. So after Jung-In's team regroups, President Bag senses the Queen, and they all head deeper into the cave. And when they finally reach her, they are intercepted by hundreds of ants. But the hunters combine their abilities and take them head on. And as Jung-In is burning ants to a crisp, Bayek goes full White Tiger and starts going to work. And even with the relentless wave of ants, they continue to push through, with each S-Rank Hunter holding their own in battle, until they finally make it to the Queen. But even after being penetrated by arrows and sliced by magical tiger claws, the Queen seems to be completely unfazed. She counters back with a poisonous fog attack. but the party's healer reverts her damage as they go back on the offensive, as Jung-in casts a fat-ass fireball that completely covers the queen ant, but she brushes it off like it was nothing. So two of the hunters begin to hold her down to give Cha an opening, and when she rushes in, she gets one final push from the healer and begins to cut her legs, and as the queen ant falls to the ground, Cha leaps in the air and slices down through the queen's neck as she removes her head. And when she turns back, all the other hunters are just stunned in awe. And since this entire raid is being televised, everyone watching the broadcast begins to cheer. But suddenly, every ant on the island begins to return to the nest, and out of the shadows of the cave, the king ant emerges, as he menacingly walks towards Jung-in's strike team. But when they go to attack it, it completely ignores them, as they turn to see it feeding off its dead mother's corpse, when suddenly, it teleports right behind Cha, and sends her flying into the nearest pillar. And seconds later, Dong-wook enlarges and tries to attack it, but the king ant removes both his arms. And when Bae jumps in, he gets taken out within a blink of an eye. And before Jung-in could defend himself, the king ant teleports to him and slices through his body. And next up is Lim, who aims his arrows and shoots it at King Ant, but this monster catches it in mid-air, as he proceeds to teleport to Lim, send him flying, and teleport to him again. But before he could take him out for good, Dong-wook steps in fully healed and saves him, thanks to their S-rank healer Min, who camouflaged himself to conceal his presence. But while they were fighting, King Ant grabs Dong-wook's ankles and turns him into Loki. And then this monster turns to Min, who was in camouflage, teleports to him, and stabs through his chest. And as Baek watches, King Ant bites off Min's head. And when Baek tries to avenge him, King Ant chunks Min's body at his chest and proceeds to choke him out. But then things start to get real freaky, as the King Ant begins to talk to him. He tells Baek that you killed our queen, and simply killing your soldiers will not make up for that. So he asks Baek, "Where's your king?" When suddenly, King Ant senses someone stronger outside and begins to fly towards them. And when we cut to Godo, him and a few of the other hunters are tasked to retreat off the island, when he's suddenly attacked from behind. But as he deflects it, Ishida is decapitated. And after he instructs the other hunter to head out, he now stands face to face with the Ant King. And when the Ant King asks if he's their king, Godo says yes, when suddenly the Ant King's aura shrouds him in darkness, and his blade cracks. We then return to Jung-in's badly beaten strike team taking on the rest of the ants. And as they're getting overrun, Jinwoo's shadow soldiers appear from their shadows and defend them. And as we cut back to the mainland, Jinwoo stands up and says, "Exchange." As the ants rush in, Jinwoo's shadow soldiers take them out, including Egress, Tank, Iron, and Tusk. And making his way to the front of the pack is the aura former himself, Jinwoo sunk, when suddenly Jinwoo calls out and sends his soldiers into battle as they begin to take out the ants one by one. And the other hunters are just sitting there like, what is going on? But Jinwoo says he'll explain later and begins to heal their wounds. But when he tries to heal Cha, it doesn't work because she took too much damage. But regardless, the swarm keeps coming, so Jinwoo devises a plan to clear a path. But as soon as the strike team agrees, they all sense an evil aura as the Ant King has returned and is walking towards them. And he looks pissed off, but Jinwoo accepts his challenge and gets right in his face. And with everyone watching the broadcast feed, the entire world watches with anticipation. When suddenly, the Ant King punches Jinwoo in the face, but Jinwoo counters back by holding him in place and punching him back. And for whatever reason, these two decided to stand in the center of the octagon and throw hands. Like they're not even attempting to dodge. They are just planting their feet and throwing straight haymakers. Until Jinwoo punches the Ant King so hard he sends him flying back to the other end of the cave. And when the Ant King dashes back in, their fists clash in the middle. And then Jinwoo drops low and hits the Ant King with the uppercut of doom. But then he shoots his freaky ass tongue out and slices Jinwoo across the face and filling his body with toxins, completely immobilizing him. But before he could take him out, Jinwoo catches his hand and then proceeds to punch him hard as At this point, just call this man the ant bully, because what he is doing to this S-rank hunter assassin is ridiculous. I mean, at this point, I kind of feel bad for bro, because he's going against a literal cheat code. The system gave him a detoxing buff because a harmful substance was detected. What else is he supposed to do?
Help me! Help me! Nigga!
And when the King Ant gets up, Jinwoo can sense his anxiousness. This man gave a literal ant anxiety. Jinwoo then rushes in and attempts to hit him with a flying axe kick, but the Ant King dodges it as he now flies above him and begins to transform. What the is this Deoxys? Jinwoo then summons his daggers from his inventory and teleports towards the Ant King. But the Ant King blocks his attack as his speed has drastically increased. And as Jinwoo jumps back, they begin to play the deadliest game of tag I've ever seen, as they clash again and continue to trade blows with one another. And they are throwing straight combos. But when Jinwoo gets launched back, the Ant King activates his ice ability and then proceeds to launch ice shards at Jinwoo. But Jinwoo outruns them. So the Ant King hogs him down through the debris and continues running the fade. And their aura is so strong, they are literally flashbanging the audience. And when my eyes finally came back too, they are moving so fast you can only see neon streaks. They even had this man Bag hitting the Madara emote, and I do not blame him. They are literally fighting at the speed of light, and it's fairly even until Jinwoo yeets his daggers, teleports to the Ant King, punches him into an unskippable animation, recalls his daggers, and cuts off, I don't even know, but the Ant King locks back in and slams him into the ground. But moments before he takes out his eye, Jinwoo slashes his limbs, but the Ant King regenerates them and summons an ice shield to buy some time. And Buddy is in straight panic mode. I mean, he's not even trying to fight no more. And as he tries to escape, Jinwoo comes down from above and slices him all the way into the ground. And in a last-ditch effort, the Ant King summons his minions to attack Jinwoo. But you must have forgotten, Jinwoo has his own army, as he summons his shadow soldiers who completely obliterate the ants. I mean, what are you supposed to do? This man has a shadow dragon and an orc who can damn near summon the sun and blow a hole through the side of a mountain. And as the Ant King reasonably tries to run away, this Jinwoo uses the force and brings him back to Earth. And as the Ant King stares death in the face, he begins to scutter away. So Jinwoo hogs him down, summons his daggers, and literally slices him to death. And after killing the Ant King, who murked multiple S-rank hunters, this man only leveled up twice. What level even is this? And after the other ants saw what just happened, they were like, yeah, this shit. Jinwoo then heads back to the other hunters to tend to Cha, but as he tries to give her the elixir of life, it is ineffective. And with his options running low, he turns his head as his eyes begin to glow. Alright, so that's the end of today's video. By the time this one drops, the season 2 finale should be out, so you can watch this video and peek at the same time. Now we also got some more bangers coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And once again, I appreciate everybody for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe as well. It's your boy Atlas, and I'll catch you next time.